I think the seeds for A World Between Us were really sown a long time ago when I was a teenager, and I first discovered about the Spanish Civil War through the Mitford books, through Jessica and Nancy Mitford's. And I found it all absolutely fascinating and incredibly romantic and so on. And then one day I was drying up in the kitchen at my grandparents' after a big family meal, and I think it probably had been my grandmother's birthday because she'd liked us to learn poetry off by heart for her birthdays. And she started telling me why this was so important to know lots of poetry off by heart, because she said then if you were ever found yourself in prison without any books, you'd be fine. And I was quite taken aback by that because I wasn't really thinking that my grandmother was likely to have ended up in prison. And I asked her about it, and she said she'd been in police cells after being arrested after Spanish Civil War demonstrations. Now that totally blew me away, even more when I discovered that she'd actually known Esmond Romilly. And I think from that point on, I was always interested in the Spanish Civil War, and I read more things and read Hemingway and Orwell and so on, and built up a kind of small knowledge. And then my daughter fell just as madly in love with the Mitford books as I had done. And that really got me thinking, because a lot of her generation really know nothing about the Spanish Civil War. And I began to wonder whether there was a place for a new book about it, a novel that could sweep a whole new generation away with the same passion that had taken these volunteers to Spain in the first place. Because thousands of volunteers from all over the world responded to the call of the Spanish Republic and gave up everything, really, to go and fight for the cause of democracy and freedom. And they were incredibly heroic, and their heroism was instinctive and really came from the gut and incredibly moving.